Okay, guys, hi and welcome back. This is Mr. Miller again, giving you the lowdown on percussion this time. The percussion section is obviously potentially very vast. You've all been to the storeroom in the music room. You know how many instruments are there. It depends on the music, depends on the piece as to what instruments you do use in percussion, but there are a series of characteristic instruments that are used in most orchestral pieces. We'll go through four of those today, that being the snare drum, the bass drum, the timpani, and the xylophone. First thing to bear in mind is that the family of instruments we're talking about today, quite different to what we've done before, is struck or scraped instruments. Okay, so they're all struck or scraped to produce that sound. The percussion instruments are believed to be some of the oldest types of instruments in the world in all human societies, second only to the human voice, meaning that when we first discovered music, or we were in the process of discovering music as human societies, we made the sound, we made music with our body first, and then after the human voice, we moved on to striking things to make rhythm and create music that way. So it's fascinating to look at human history and see how percussion fares into that. It's a very interesting history. For the purposes of the orchestra, however, percussion instruments are divided into two sections, one being unpitched or not pitched, and the other being pitched. Now, you'll see that familiar word here. We've done the elements of music, and you know what pitch is. It's the highness or lowness of a tone or sound. And that basically means that there are percussion instruments where you can hear the highness or lowness of the sound. And there are other percussion instruments where you can't hear that highness or lowness of the sound. And we'll go through a couple of both. The snare drum, meaning one that's unpitched, has two skins, one at the top, one at the bottom. It has a series of wires here which help to produce a high rattling sound, and it has to be tuned properly to do this, but when it's tuned nicely, it produces that da da sound that we're all familiar with the snare drum. It's two skins stretched over a circular wooden frame. Please listen to this example here. As with all examples, it's fascinating to see how the snare goes in an orchestra. This one, I believe, is actually the snare featured as a piece of as an instrument in the piece of music rather than being in the background. The bass drum, different to the snare drum in that it has a deeper sound because it's a larger drum, and it's very common in high climactic moments in an orchestral piece. If you cast your minds back to the Rapids of St. John in the Moldau, you will hear this instrument. However, it also features as, it can actually be an instrument that features in a piece of music. Please go to this example here. I believe the composer is Prokofiev. Fast forward to about 2.5 minutes, and listen to it for a couple of minutes. Have patience. It's probably not your favourite thing, but it's certainly fascinating to hear how dynamic this instrument can be, irrespective of it being a loud instrument.